Hello everyone, welcome back to day 3 of our 2-week-long California road trip. If you missed the last episode, be sure to go back and watch it as I unravel Southern California's only national park, Joshua Tree. In today's video, we take on the 4.5 to 5 hour journey north to Death Valley National Park. Well, sort of, because the night previously we had already gone all the way up to Baker, California, which serves as the last stop to refuel or eat anything before getting on Death Valley Road. But real quick, allow me to introduce you to one of the most mysterious places in the United States. Death Valley National Park is known for many things, but perhaps the most prominent is that it's the location that's seen the hottest recorded temperature since humans inhabited the Earth.
Well, 114 degrees.
In other words, it's one of, if not the hottest place we know of on our planet. In 1913, Death Valley National Park hit a staggering 134 degrees Fahrenheit or 57 degrees Celsius. This record-breaking heat occurred during a heat wave where there were 5 consecutive days that reached over 129 degrees Fahrenheit. Another thing Death Valley is known for is containing the lowest point in North America at 282 feet below sea level. A crazy fact for you all is that Water Basin, the lowest point in the US, is just 85 miles from Mount Whitney, the highest point in the US mainland. If you'd like to learn more about the transition from low desert to high alpine, stay tuned for my next video that primarily takes place at the Alabama Hills National Scenic Area. What was exciting about our visit to Death Valley National Park is that it was my first stop on the road trip that was a first-time experience for me. I had already been to Joshua Tree and Anza-Borrego Desert State Park in the past, but not Death Valley. Why I was especially excited to see Death Valley is because despite its location in the desolate Mojave Desert and world record high temperatures, it boasts some of the most stunning wonders of any desert park in the national park system. To get to our first stop, we needed to head north of Baker via Death Valley Road. This fully paved road takes visitors all the way to the valley floor, but also splits off at the accommodation area of Shoshone for those looking to head to the small Nevada portion of the park, or in our case, the Ridge of the Black Mountains for Dante's View. I won't even pretend like this wasn't my favorite attraction in the park. Dante's View is insane, though unfortunately due to its remoteness, it's less visited than many of the park's other attractions like Zabriskie Point 20 miles away. In my opinion, it's well worth the detour as you get to take in one of the best viewpoints in the state, if not the country. Three, 2, 1.
Holy crap! What? Wait.
Dante's View provides an unearthly view of the halite salt making up Water Basin and Devil's Golf Course, which we got to see up close later on in our visit. The salt appears like a sparkling ocean with the Panamint Mountain backdrop and windy streaks at the bottom of the range. To the left of the viewing area, there's a steep and narrow trail that offers panoramic views of the valley floor and surrounding mountains. You're welcome to continue on the trail for as long as you'd like, but know your limits as getting back up to the viewing area can be exhausting, especially depending on the heat levels.
So this trail is very steep. You don't really have to do the whole thing to get an amazing view, but we really wanted to see the inside of the valley with all the mountains.
We were lucky to see a few lizards and birds on the trail that made us wonder how animals could possibly survive in a place as dry as Death Valley. Moving onwards to our next destination, it was time for the park's most popular attraction, Zabriskie Point. Combined with Dante's View, Zabriskie Point rounds out one of the best 1-2 punches or sets of headlining attractions any national park has to offer in the US. Its badlands are sediments from the Furnace Creek Lake that dried up 5 million years ago before Death Valley even came to exist. The panoramic viewing area offers an up-close look at the badlands color gradients from black to brown to gold. Having recently seen the rough badlands of Anza-Borrego Desert State Park down south, I wasn't used to the silky smooth ones at Zabriskie Point. So whether it's that, the shape, or the hues, you'd be crazy not to visit this breathtaking attraction while you're at Death Valley National Park. Next, we drove 18 miles to what would be many people's first stop when visiting the park. Water Basin is known for being the lowest point in North America at 282 feet below sea level. This endorheic basin retains all of the water it can and allows none of it to escape. That is, with the one exception, as right by the parking area there's a small spring-fed pool of water. To see any form of liquid in the park is wild beyond comprehension, to be honest, but there is a catch. Due to the accumulated salts of the surrounding basin, the water is completely undrinkable, hence the name Water Basin. Several miles to the west there's also a salt flat that's hazardous to traverse, but that's actually where the real lowest point is by like under a foot. This explains why the sign marking the lowest point is by the pool of water at the parking lot instead. Everyone's free to walk along the basin to their heart's content, but I didn't see anyone go further than a mile since at this point during our visit it had already got over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. A similar but different attraction can be found a few miles away at the Devil's Golf Course. This panoramic look of unique rock salt can be accessed by a mile-long gravel road that just about any vehicle should be able to traverse. reverse. Similar to Water Basin, Devil's Golf Course looks like it goes on forever, but what you're looking at is quite different. The rock salt has actually been eroded by wind and rain into jagged spires, and if you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear the salt crystals expand and contract.
It says here that on a warm day, you can actually hear a metallic cracking sound, and we've been hearing that this whole time. I don't think the phone will pick it up, but it's a very hot day, so it makes a lot of sense, but that's not what I was expecting.
Although my phone and GoPro weren't able to pick up the sound, it's such a cool aspect of Devil's Golf Course that you have to come and experience for yourself. Moving on, we got back on a pavement and ventured into Artist Drive. This 9-mile scenic alternative off of Badwater Road takes you through eroded multicolored hills with a huge mountain range to the right-hand side of it. The drive is beautiful, and I struggle to keep my eyes off of the colorful hills. Towards the end of Artist Drive, there's a place to pull off and take an artist palette, a series of hills with half a dozen different color gradients. The most notable color is these hints of blue and purple that look like pure eye candy. At the parking area, you're welcome to take in the view from the viewing area or hike down into the painted hills. Personally, I thought seeing the colors from afar was much more impressive than seeing them up close. Our last stop within the valley floor was the 2.9-mile out and back trail through Golden Canyon to the Red Cathedral.
It's hot as f***.
Now, we were originally going to shelve this from our itinerary because the heat was getting completely unbearable at this point. It hit a high of 114 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's by far the hottest temperature I've felt in my life. Though my brother was eager to do more since the trip had just begun, so we set off to do this hike anyways. The Golden Canyon Trail was the thing I did the least amount of research on, so I wasn't sure what to expect. That said, the canyon was huge and made for some fascinating shapes and sizes. The Red Cathedral was also cool, that being a large, wide, vertical wall with a brownish red color to it. While I did enjoy this hike for what it was worth, if I had to remove anything from our itinerary to Death Valley National Park, it would most certainly be this. To be fair, the competition was immense, but the jarring heat made the experience quite intense for me. On a cooler day with more flexibility, I'm sure I would have enjoyed this hike much more than I did this time around. As we narrowly survived the Golden Canyon, it was time to begin our journey outside of the park with 2 other stops along the way. The first was the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes, and on the way through Furnace Creek, we saw the park's lone gas station that may have been selling the most expensive gas in the entire country. $9 for 1 gallon sounds unfathomable, which is why I recommend refueling in Baker before entering the park. That gas goes for $6 a gallon, which is still very expensive, but nowhere near as bad as $9. The Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes, on the other hand, were a quick stop for us due to the heat, but it was really cool.
So we found sand dunes, the most accessible sand dunes in the national park. It's just endless rolling sand hills. It's so pretty.
They are the easiest to access sand dunes in the park and one of the only spots that allow sandboarding, so if you have one, that may be something to look into. I personally hadn't seen dunes this smooth and sprawling before, so I was taken back by my surroundings. Climbing to the top of any of the higher dunes will grant you a panoramic view of the sandy hills and large desert mountains in the distance. Our last spot before exiting the park's boundaries was the Rainbow Canyon, otherwise known as Star Wars Canyon.
We finally made it to our last stop, the Star Wars Canyon. This is the last thing that you see as you exit Death Valley National Park from the direction we came.
Until 2019, this narrow canyon was used for fighter jet training in the US Air Force, but now it isn't too much to be excited about. Some of the streaks in the middle of the canyon are interesting, but it's not nearly as colorful as it was many years ago. Probably the coolest part of the view was the crater out in the distance that my brother and I couldn't quite wrap our heads around. But nevertheless, this concluded our long day to Death Valley National Park. This is truly one of the best and most unique national parks I've been to so far. If you're road tripping through the state or want to spend a day seeing the California desert, this should be at the top of your to-do list. As cool as Joshua Tree National Park or Anza-Borrego Desert State Park are, Death Valley wins in an instant. I'm still scratching my head and wondering how the hottest, lowest, and driest place in North America, if not the world, can be this beautiful. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed this video and will consider leaving a like and subscribing down below. Stay tuned for day 4 of our road trip, which was the last we spent in the state's desert. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.